All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Geopolitics and Money. Excited to be with you once again. How are you, Elizabeth?
I am freaking out. We have got a freaking show for you guys.
It
What is
is.
going on right now in the United States is absolute chaos. It is corruption coming to the top. And for everyone to see, it is things being hidden behind the scenes. What the first thing we're going to talk about is something that has been absolutely hidden behind the scenes. Nobody's been talking about it,
Yeah.
but it is like massive. We have got a show for you guys.
Yeah.
It is chaos here in the United States.
Indeed, indeed. And as a matter of fact, we have a lot of people here in the chat box. So welcome everybody. Good to have you here. So we're gonna be addressing. Let's start. We're gonna be addressing two topics, right? Two or three, but we'll start with the three.
Yeah.
Let's start with the main one about where the U.S. national debt and what it means for the average citizen. I mean, politicians don't give a damn about what's going on to an average citizen. And this is exactly what we're going to be detailing for you. Then we'll move on into the other topics. So far, U.S. national debt has surpassed $38 trillion.
Yes. Okay. So here's the big deal with that. First of all, just to prove that you are correct, David, here is the U.S. national debt clock. It is usdebtclock.org.
Right. Yeah,
$38.2 trillion. Okay.
Wow.
Now, here's the big thing about this. David, let me share this. This is big thank you to Wolf Street. I really like Wolf Street. Just check them out.
Not Wall Street, Wolf Street.
Wolf. Yes, Wolf. Yeah, not Wall Street. I'm not the biggest fan of Wall Street. I don't know if you guys know that or not. But here is the deal. The government sold almost $700 billion of treasuries this last week.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And this is how, so it's not an accident. It's not a like, oh, just kidding. We accidentally hit $38.2 trillion.
No.
The government last freaking week sold almost 700 billion in treasuries.
Yeah. And this amount, basically, when you break it down, and this is again why we decided to address this, because the concerns for the average citizen, and we are average citizen. Don't get us wrong here. We are just average people here. We're not millionaires and so forth. Here is where the issue is that the $38 trillion, when you break it down, it amounts to roughly $112,000 of debt for every person in the U.S.
Yes. So there are a couple of really big things about that, David, that you just said.
Yeah.
So even if you're not an average citizen, right? Like there's the elite, right? The elite class of people, and then there's like literally everyone else. The elites overall, oh, the light just went out behind me. That's okay. The elites can take their money elsewhere, right? They can take their money and they can put it overseas. They can do all kinds of things with it that protect it. But pretty much everyone else, even if you're not really an average person, even if you're on either side, it is a big, big problem. Now, there's another big problem on top of that. So there are a whole bunch of lawmakers that have put together a letter that is urging the Trump administration to do something about the debt, okay, to balance the budget. The problem with this letter is that it is an absolute Trojan horse.
Yeah.
It is a Trojan horse of like, well, you know, Doge, Elon Musk's, remember when we were going to get $5,000 each from the Doge cuts? Do you guys?
I
didn't get my $5,000. David, did you?
And no, I didn't. And by the way, if you would have gotten it, you have to pay taxes on it.
Well, I mean, of course, like
you know how it is. You know
they got to make their money somehow, right?
System is so corrupted.
And guys, I am passionate, like wild about this particular topic because this all happened while we were distracted with other things. So while the US population was distracted with the Epstein stuff, which quite frankly we should be, and we're going to talk about the Epstein debacle later, no one is talking about the fact that we hit 38 trillion. Where people are talking about the government shutdown, people are talking about just about everything else, and no one is talking about this because it's not a freaking accident. It's not a like, oh, we just stumbled and fell into 38 trillion, right? This is actively happening and in large amounts of money at a time. I mean, $700 billion is heading towards $1 trillion.
Yeah. And that is where you see now becomes, when you think about this in terms of an average American, how he or she is looking at this, assuming that this person is in the know, understanding the basics of what the government.
That's the point.
And the logical question they're going to be wondering is whether the US lawmakers really are living up to their sort of basic fiscal duties per se, in response to the constituents' demands and needs and concerns. So adding $1 trillion after $1 trillion, that's a crisis. That's a crisis. And especially for a country like ours, when we take the money and we're not even reinvesting the money into America. Right. We're sending it to corrupted countries. We forge with it conflicts in other parts of the world. This is what makes sort of the ruins. That's why America's finances are in ruin. It's because we have sort of corrupted politicians who are not living up to their basic fiscal duties. That's the only way I can see it.
Well, so exactly what you said is we're looking at, and we see this, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about the Epstein stuff, is we're watching corruption on a mass scale, right? Because I want to bring up this officials are urging the Trump administration. So Congress really wants to tackle the national debt crisis. Okay, who is responsible? Okay, which governing body is responsible for our budget?
It's Congress.
So all of a sudden they want to do something when we're $38 trillion and like, where were they up until this moment?
Well, they won't do anything, because here's the thing. Instead of letting this debt clock to go higher and higher and higher, they should have embarked, in my opinion. They should have embarked and really embarked on some responsible reforms or policies that at least will start paving the way for the country to be put on a right track for the future generations. They're not even doing that.
Here's the thing. I don't think they want to. This is my personal opinion, but I don't think they want to. I think we're headed towards UBI. I think we're flat out headed towards universal basic income, because if you're looking at the situation the way that it is, okay, so this actually came out during the war on terror. Because there were the two sides, right? There's the side that was like really pro-war, and we have to bring democracy to Iraq. We have to free them. We have to bomb them with our freedom. But at the time, the narrative was so strong of like, no, we have to go in and we have to do this. Okay. But then you had the other side that was it was typically Democrat, right? And that at that time it was split between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans were very pro-Bush, very pro, war on terror. We got to go do this. The Democrats were the party that was like, no, we want peace. We shouldn't go in and do this. Yeah. And I remember reading an article about that. And it was, we have to look like to the rest of the world, like we don't condone this, right? Which is why they allowed that level of dissent while still doing whatever the hell they wanted. And so we're looking at a really similar thing where we're looking at, so the New York Post is who came out with this, 90, here, I'll share it. Let me share it with you guys. Share this tab instead and put it up here. Oh God, it's full of ads. Let me make it bigger so you guys don't have to look at a whole bunch of ads. Okay. Let me share it with you guys. So we have this in this case too. 90 state officials urge Trump Congress to tackle national debt crisis, warning painful age of reckoning looms. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
But this, go ahead, David.
No, I was gonna say they're not gonna. There is no sense of responsibility whatsoever in those politicians anymore. This is why they're not gonna do that. And as a matter of fact, because of this now, do you know what just happened? Modi's have now downgraded the U.S. government credit.
It should.
Yeah.
And it's been downgraded and downgraded and downgraded.
Yeah.
And that should have been a warning sign. But like I said, David, I don't believe that the elites and I don't believe that the government wants to fix this. This is talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah. And for Modi's, I don't know if you guys know, usually when Modi downgrade an entity or credit, whatever, they have to provide justification for it. You can't just do it willy-nilly. And their arguments for this is that the failure, this is what deciding what led them to reach that conclusion, is the failure of the successive administrations, meaning it's not just Trump problem. It's the one before him and the one before him and the one before him. And the problem for all those is that they failed miserably to reverse the trends of a large annual fiscal deficits. That's one. And the second one has to do with the growing interest costs. That's why when you go borrow money here for something, the interest on it, you look at credit cards, about 30% of interest. This is one of the reasons why Modi downgraded, and that reflects a much bigger problem for the financial health of the country. This is where the issue is.
David, you want to hear something interesting?
Sure.
So you know that markets are naturally deflationary?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Think of it this way, right? Like technology is a really great area because we see it happen very, very starkly. When TVs first came out, how expensive were they? They were really expensive.
A lot.
Right? And not everybody could afford one. Now, you could be at the poverty level and you still got a TV and a cell phone.
Yeah.
When cell phones first came out, not everybody could afford a cell phone because they were so expensive. Now, everyone's freaking got a cell phone. And it's because over time, manufacturing of these things tends to become cheaper. And that happens across the board. As technology gets better, it also gets cheaper. So why is there inflation? Why is the Fed's target 2% inflation per year? I mean, granted, we're even above that in the Fed's eyes and the Fed's standard, God forbid. Yeah. But why is their target 2% inflation when markets are naturally deflationary? Why is that? That is a fundamental question. We all just assume that inflation is natural. We all just assume that there's a good manufacturing reason.
Yeah.
But that's not true. And so there's some really big fundamental questions about the way our system works that I think people really need to be asking. It's not just, oh, there's inflation, but it's why is there inflation? Why has the Fed not been able to bring inflation down? If they are the end all be all, why have they not been able to bring it down?
Yeah. It tells you something in the works. Something in the works.
Yeah.
There is no way the reason why they would not act on behalf of the sort of what's right, and this is why you have, like, for example, the economists debating among themselves is sort of how much debt the US can take on. because
Oh,
that
yeah.
question in itself will be how much that the US can take on before triggering a financial crisis. So, and
I
that
have
is why
graphs.
you have now, well, I'm sorry, what was it?
No, you're absolutely
Yeah,
correct, David. You're
yeah,
absolutely correct. It is the question. The question is the United States, if we're looking at interest payments alone,
yeah, yeah.
okay, if we're looking at interest payments alone, we're looking at $1 trillion in approximately $1 trillion in interest payments this year alone.
Wow.
Okay. What could we have purchased, like infrastructure wise? What could we have purchased with $1 trillion?
Yeah, a lot.
That's money that's more or less evaporated. It's wasted in a sense because
Yeah,
it's not actually going to paying for anything. And if you look at how long this debt has accrued,
yeah.
we're paying stuff off that that we accrued debt on when I was in middle school. That's
And it,
long gone. We don't have any of whatever that is left, if it really was towards much of anything at all.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
what do
that's
we
why
have to show for that?
yeah, that's why there is now widespread sort of a consensus or even agreement among economists. That the trajectory we are on is unsustainable.
I would like
There is no other way of looking at it, because the US debt, the problem with that is that's going to trigger a cascade of issues. Financial markets, you're talking about domestic, the GDP, the gross domestic products, and so forth, which, by the way, if this trajectory, according to some analysis that tackle this issue, if this stays on this trajectory, we're going to be looking at a US debt level above 200% of gross of GDP.
And far above that. So 135,
Yeah,
David,
yeah,
is the point of no return. So apparently, if you go higher than 135, and I think we're at 125, one something 120, somewhere in the 120s.
yeah.
If you go above 135, 100% of currencies have failed at that point.
Mm,
Granted, 100% of fiat currencies fail anyway,
yeah,
but you're looking at a failure rate of 100% after 135. So we're headed in that direction, and rapidly.
yeah. Well, here is the thing. The consensus about this also had to do with the decision of Donald Trump on two tracks. One of them has to do with tariffs and so forth, and the other one has to do with you remember in the big beautiful bill, it was one provision there that had to do with tax cuts.
Yeah.
Here is what they are concerning about, those economists, is that because of those tax cuts that Donald Trump embarked on, there is an estimation that the debt of the US, national debt that is, could reach this. This is where they confirm that 200% of the GDP by about 2045. This is where the problem is.
Yes,
And what
absolutely.
makes it even worse is there is no national debate. There is no debate about this. There
There's
is
no
nothing,
debate.
because the government intend on keeping the masses distracted with the other stuff, including the Epstein stuff, which we will talk about soon.
Yes, we will. It
Yeah,
deserves every
of
single
course,
freaking word.
of course, we need to have to. So this is again where this issue. By the way, I'm going to put the link for the community if you want to read up something on this at your leisure time. You can learn something there if you want to. It's up
Cool.
to you. So
And I wanted to share this, David. This is
yeah,
Treasury bills outstanding in trillions. I
wow.
just, since this is only from 2006 to 2025, but I mean that's 20
Hmm.
years
Yeah.
worth. I just want to leave this here for your viewing pleasure. Take a
Just to
look at
see.
this. And I want
Yeah.
to share this also. Like I said, thank you to Wall Street, because I like what they do.
Yeah.
But they pointed out here where all the debt ceilings were, like all the debt ceilings that we hit.
Yeah.
Here they all were, and then here's our lovely, almost straight upward trend. But I mean, this is debt since 2018. Okay,
Wow.
like this is not debt since our country began. This is debt since 2018. And when you're looking at these big leaps, right here you have the COVID years, right? When tons and tons and tons of money was printed. And I have a lot of really big questions about that as a way to sort of solve the problem that people were all locked down and not making any money, because $2,000 per family, that ended up. Go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say that's a joke. What is going to do to a family?
That's the point. The point is, look at how much debt we accrued on top of quantitative easing, right? Money print. Let me rephrase that. Money printing.
Yeah.
So to do what? Because $2,000 per family doesn't do anything.
No.
That doesn't even pay for people's freaking mortgages or rent. That doesn't do anything. But what it did do is it did add approximately $600 billion to our budget that wasn't in the budget. So where did it come? Where did it go? Right? It ended up right here. And so when we talk a little bit about tariffs later, that's another thing I really want to talk about, is the fact that we have Donald Trump coming out and saying he's going to give every American $2,000 again for this tariff stuff. Like, oh, it's your reward for the tariffs, which have ended up being taxes on the people that are supposed to be. So when you're talking about tax revenue, I think, yes, it is true that the big beautiful bill had tax cuts, but that money is still coming from somewhere. People are still being taxed through tariffs. It's just not called that.
Of course, they're not going to give it that. They will word it differently, so people will not understand. And that is part of where the problem with all this, because once again, the way I see it, it's the simplicity of it. And the simplicity I'm talking about here is when you have a problem, you put it on the table, you figure out what's causing the problem, you identify the parameters of how big the problem can get or how small or whatever. Then you come up with a strategy to tackle that problem to end it. The members of Congress are not doing none of that. They are assuming that there is no problem. There is no end to this debt, which, by the way, we're going to have to pay it one way or another. And that's what I say. It is not fair to the next generation. It's not their debt.
It's not fair to this generation.
Even
because
this one,
in a sense, it's not our debt. Like either way, it's not actually our debt, because like I said, what can you point to that we have gotten for the $38 trillion overage?
Nothing.
What? Do we have infrastructure? Do we have new infrastructure?
Yeah.
Do we have new ports, new roads? Do we have fully funded schools? Do we have universal health care? Do we have free university?
Yeah.
What do we have? And I know that people talk about entitlement programs, and I do understand that in terms of, that is a very large percentage of the budget. But if a government isn't meant to take care of its people, what is it meant to do?
Well, let alone in our Constitution, it says government for the people, by the people. But
so, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. If it is for the people and people need help, you find a way to pay for that. I don't actually have any issue with entitlement programs. Do you, David?
No, it's not. I'm not against helping those in need. We all need help. I got help in my life at some point. Do you think I will ever
me
forget
too.
that?
Not from the government, but in general,
No, it wasn't. I'm talking about people. Even with the government, it's slightly different in my case. And I'll give an example because I give credit where credit is due. I look at it right now as a veteran. I'm a vet. So the healthcare aspects of it, I don't have a private insurance because I know how private insurance is corrupted. The insurance business here in America is so corrupted. However, when you go to the VA, it's a different process altogether because that deals with the VA in itself. I had never had an issue with the VA, but with the insurance, the private one, now you have an insurance, and I know people that have insurance, private one, they go for a medical procedure or whatever, and the insurance said, no, we're not going to cover that. Well, why are they paying the insurance for this monthly premium for? Isn't that what insurance is for? All of a sudden they're saying, no, we don't cover that one. Then what's the point? Only to find out that Congress has passed some bills, some legislation behind the scenes that prevent insurance companies from being sued. Makes you just wonder.
Well, I mean, I don't know that you have to wonder that hard. I mean, something very recent, happened with United Healthcare.
Oh, I know. And we know what happened with that.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
guys, you know what that is.
You're right. And my point with all this is that, helping people in need, I'm not against it. Using some of my tax dollars in help of someone in need, I have no objection to it.
I don't either.
Using my tax dollars to send them to corrupted leaders in some other countries, I got a problem with that. Using my tax dollars to just among members of Congress because they have to support some lobbyist group, whatever, I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
And this is where our issues is. And now you have to realize, with all this going on, you're going to ask yourself the question of what is the role of the banks inside here in the United States in this financial stuff? If you think about it, we got 5 major banks, major ones, that they are trying to eliminate anyone else, meaning moms and pops banks, the small ones. They want to get them out of the way altogether. Why? So they can control the market and, of course, negotiate the interest rate behind closed doors.
Yes.
So that's where the problem is. And to me, again, I get frustrated with this stuff also. But again, understanding the logics of it, you have a citizen. We all need help at some point in our lives. So if somebody needs help, we're going to have to assist that person, but, within a limit, of course, within a limit. I'm not saying the US government should just be handing, free money to people, because that money is coming from the taxpayer. The taxpayer had to work 40 to 50 hours a week, and we're taking that much money from his or her paycheck. That is not right either. And that goes back on the government not having a sound policies, because the people inside are not doing what they're supposed to do.
I think that's a very good point, because fundamentally, I'm not saying that the programs are not broken, and you're saying the same thing. The programs on the inside, they're broken. It's not like they're perfect programs. But the point is that there are so many other things that this money is going to. And there are a couple of hot button topics that the administration keeps, this administration and every freaking other administration brings up, right? Like they bring up immigration, they bring up, they bring up the Social Security and Medicare and the social programs or whatever. You know what they're not bringing up? The Pentagon failing its audit for the 6th time.
Yeah.
Right? The black hole of trillions of dollars that we have no idea where it's going. Right? Nobody's bringing that up. Nobody's bringing up the Boeing contracts that they're still getting despite the giant debacle they just went through. Nobody's bringing that up.
Yeah.
Does Boeing as a I don't know what's going on in the inner workings there. Maybe they're fixing things. Maybe things are perfect there. But does that company deserve the contracts that it's getting?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's so many other places that just money disappears into a black hole. And Doge, the Elon Musk thing that didn't do anything really, started to expose teeny little bits of it. but then somehow magically stopped. All of a sudden, Elon Musk didn't want to do it anymore because it's too hard. And then now what do we got?
Or he was told not to do it if he wants to have the contracts from the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
Even Elon Musk himself, I won't fall for it. I don't trust the guy. Simple as that. I'm nothing against him personally, but I understand the inner workings of the government. I was inside and I understand. Mm-hmm. And speaking of where the money goes, that hole you were talking about, there is something called the block budget.
Yeah.
Inside the government. And the block budget is that the money is funded, it's funneled through, it's not recorded. There's a different mechanism by which this money is funneled. And that's usually for either black ops, is for some other, it's like what we are witnessing right now in Ukraine. That's part of that mechanism. What we are witnessing right now with BlackRock, it's part of that process. This is why you have right now the push for BlackRock to rebuild Syria and Iraq.
Well, and BlackRock also, if I am not mistaken, got the contract to rebuild Ukraine.
Of course.
As well. Yeah. And there is a BlackRock guy who is in the running supposedly for Fed chair after May. Wow. So there's a couple of guys. So this is all part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
So now probably is a good time to transition into the tariffs.
Let's do that.
And so this is kind of an interesting transition into the tariffs because Donald Trump, let me share this lovely Truth Social post about okay. Do you want me to read that, David? Can you read it?
Sure. Yeah, go
ahead. People that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation. Did you notice, David, there's almost no inflation? I somehow didn't notice that. I'm not sure how. And record stock market prices, which that is its own show on its own, why on earth are these companies so overly inflated? Okay.
Yeah.
401ks are the highest ever, and we're talking in trillions of dollars, and we'll soon begin paying down our enormous debt, 37 trillion. Well, dude, a couple days later it became 38 trillion, but okay.
Yeah.
Record investment in the US, plants and factories going up all over the place, a dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high income people, of course, will be paid to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, will I trust what Trump is saying? No, of course. And what he's saying contradicts what the reality is. Ask an average person, or I don't need to ask an average person. I go grocery shopping myself when I need whatever I need, and I buy only what I need. But I also look at the prices and I compare them to only 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. It's going up, and I think about an average person who is on a really, really, really fixed income, especially the retirees. I feel sorry for older people that they are, on a really limited budget and so forth. So when Donald Trump will say, well, there is no inflation or we reduced inflation, where is it? When you're saying that the tariffs brought in trillions of dollars, where is it? I would not take Trump for what he's saying because we all know we're not going to waste energy on talking about him because he doesn't understand. He doesn't grasp the basics of a struggling average American. That notion for him doesn't exist.
Well, he's not one.
He never been one.
He's never been one.
Yeah. No, even a lot of people do not know. You know how he got into Wharton School? Wharton School, by the way, guys, to those who might not know, is one of the reputable schools of business here in the U.S. You have to get in, you have to have a good grades, but also the connection of it. That's how he got in. it wasn't for his grades, it wasn't for his brain, it wasn't for nothing against the guy. I'll say it for the record. Nothing against the guy. But when he was starting to inflate the stuff that have nothing to do with the reality, it is our duty to push back against that narrative, because it is not right for him to keep lying to the average American citizens who are struggling, worrying about, the way. I mean, I'm thinking about Thanksgiving is coming next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Or the next week. Yeah. Christmas is coming. I'm already thinking about how people is going to be able to afford the basics.
Well,
for a holiday.
That's actually a really good point, because if you look at it, all of this stuff is coming out, all of these promises, this post, and there are tons of these, right? This is not the only Truth Social post that is addressing the tariffs, because the tariffs are wildly unpopular. So I want to go back to exactly what you said, David, and I want to look for a moment at some facts, some logistics, some reality to what he's saying in this post. Okay. So here I'm gonna add this. Oops, that's the wrong tab. Well, I mean, look, you can see we're paying down our enormous debt with these tariffs. Okay, well, so let's look right here. This is for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. After accounting for these tariffs, and let's see. The budget deficit is still totaled at 1.8 trillion. But if you look right here, oh no, where is it? Okay. The federal government raised 195 billion in customs duties in fiscal year 2025. Okay. So let's take this number right here. And it may be a little bit more because, we don't have full official numbers yet, but this 195 billion. And let's go right on over here to this tab where the government sold 694 billion of debt of treasuries last week. So we're going to compare this 195 billion to this 694 billion. We're not making a dent.
No, not at all. No. And this is again why when Trump says stuff, and again, has nothing to do just with Trump. It has to do with the system in itself. And that's where the concern for the average American is that he or she might not even understand these basics of this. Is something we do in our show here, trying to break it down in the basic things for people to understand. That's the whole reason for this channel, is to share that knowledge on the economic and the financial aspects for people to have a grasp of the basics. We're not giving a financial advice, by the way. We're not economists. We're not, this is just the idea of understanding the basics. So, and when Donald Trump's government will be saying, well, we have the tariffs are good for the American, they are not good for the American people, And I just had a conversation with Dr. Yan Lian and understanding, for example, why more countries are moving towards the yuan instead of the dollar. It's not about they don't like the dollar or whatever. It's because they are seeing where the trends are headed. And at some point, the US dollar will not be as valuable as it is today. I'm not talking about tomorrow. It's still a long way to go. But that time is coming. And you start seeing the signs of it right now. This is why you have countries swapping their debt from the US dollar into the yuan, the Chinese currency. That's the only reason why they're doing that, because does China has a desire to dominate the financial market? No. But to me, the reason why you mention something like this, because this is where you see that link between the financial aspects and the geopolitical trajectory.
Absolutely.
No matter how you look at it. So.
You're absolutely right, David. You cannot separate geopolitics from economics.
No.
Because the economics is the reason for the geopolitics. Oh, don't. The dog just walked by the camera cords. I was like, you guys are about to see chaos. But it is the absolute reason. And economics is complex. It's complicated, but it's not so complicated that it's not understandable. It is 38.2 trillion dollars in debt. An average person who knows nothing about math and nothing about economics can tell you that's a problem. And we have so much chaos and distraction happening right now. It is really hard to keep an eye on what's going on. But you're absolutely right. We're headed towards the holiday season. We're headed towards Thanksgiving and we're headed towards Christmas. And it is undeniable that everything is massively more expensive. I don't care that the Fed has their 3% inflation. You know, they wanted to, but they got through. No, it is more than that. And guys, in the comments, I would like for you to tell me one item that you bought, because somebody did this in another comment on one of the videos, and he was like, I originally bought this thing for $14 and now it's $42.
Wow.
So I want you guys to put in the comments the things that you have seen that are that way. That you bought it for whatever, or you saw it for whatever price last year or 2-3 years ago, and what price it is right now. Because there's such a disconnect between the numbers that we're seeing and people's real life experience.
Yeah.
And you know, we're looking at, God, poor Venezuela. Like, we're looking right now at all these other countries whose currencies have been massively devalued, right? Like, what you could buy for $100 at the beginning of the year is now like 15, like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you can buy so much less and it costs so much more. So this, and even what's happening with the government. So now is a great opportunity to transition into Epstein.
Yeah, let's talk about that one, which is a very, very troubling, at the same time, very concerning. So when you think about the Epstein stuff,
okay,
the first thing that has to come to mind is that it was a vote in Congress yesterday, 2 days ago on Tuesday at 1400 hours. And the vote came up to 427 against 1. So the Senate bill, that bill is going to send to Donald Trump for signature, and it was right after the House of Representatives approved it in a 427 against 1 vote. The question we need to ask, will Trump veto this later on? The second question is whether, by the way, this is just the legislative to release the files. We don't know even what form this file is going to be. The second question that is pertaining to this is whether anything is going to be redacted inside those files.
Or if anything's not going to be redacted.
Redacted.
Yeah. Like, what do you bet? We get pages of like freaking black redacted.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we released it.
Yeah.
Did you?
That's true.
Did you release it? Giving us a page that says literally nothing. So, David, you have brought up the questions. So there is, and I want to bring this up because this is really important. When the Trump administration has, I don't know, maybe the worst PR people possible.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Trump is doing the PR on his own. I don't know if he's like a firecracker and they just can't rein him in, or whether his PR people are terrible. But this Epstein situation, he looks so guilty.
Yeah.
He has made himself look so guilty. Right? So let's go over the timeline. Do you want to go over the like quick timeline of what has happened here?
Yeah.
And speaking exactly to what you were saying, I want to talk about, because even though Trump did do this, there's a bunch of loopholes in it. And people have already found the loopholes, and we're going to share the loopholes with you. Okay. So first of all, and also, man, going after Marjorie Taylor Greene like that. Wow. Okay. It's a whole thing. Oh, sorry, guys. My screen froze. Okay. So let's go over. My screen froze again.
It did.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you know, with the storm, with the rains and all that stuff.
I
we
know.
We had the bad weather here, guys. It's just.
But I want to give you guys this timeline. Okay, here we go. No. The universe does not want me to give you guys the Trump Epstein timeline. Come on, guys. You know what? If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat as we try and do this. Okay. Let's see if I can find it now.
Okay.
All right, Epstein.
I'm trying to get a picture for the community just to see, based on what you said earlier, right there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is a very popular photo, and it should be.
Yeah.
So it should be. Okay. All right. Here's my list. Okay. So in February of 2025, so February this year, not that long ago, Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News that the Epstein client list was sitting on her desk. February. Okay. February 27th, we have that lovely picture of the people with the binders. Do you remember the binder pictures?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, hold on. Let me show the binder pictures. Let me see if I can show a bunch of these as I talk about them. All right. So what the hell were in these binders if apparently it was not a Trump client list? Let me see. Let's add it. All right. You guys all know the binders. What was in there if there was nothing in there? Okay. What? All right. Next, we have Elon Musk in June 5th. Elon Musk comes out and publicly alleged that Trump was named in the Epstein files. Okay. Remember the issue that Musk and Trump had? Okay. So that heats up. Then a couple days later, or a month later, July 7th, the DOJ and the FBI released that lovely joint memo saying there's no client list, guys. There's no client list. Epstein died by suicide. No client list. It's not a big deal. I don't know why you guys are still talking about this. No big deal. Okay. July 18th, Senator Richard Durbin alleged that the FBI was instructed to flag any mention of Trump in the Epstein files while reviewing all the documents. Okay. September 8th, emails were released by the House Oversight Committee, including the birthday book. You remember the birthday card? Yeah. With apparently the one from Trump. Trump denied it. He's like, that's not even mine. I don't do that. Okay. Okay. November. Now we're in November. Now we're like right now where we got the hot stuff coming up. November 12th, more than 20,000 emails. Okay. Which is a massive distraction technique because people can't go through 20,000 emails. No. So it's just this massive dump. So they're going to bury whatever is important in this massive dump of 20,000 emails. 19th, yesterday, Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. All right, now here's the catch. Let me add this to the guys, sorry, there's so many ads. Okay. Let me add this to the studio. So this is right on back to the question that you asked. Yeah. Epstein file bill includes exceptions that could affect what gets released and when. Now, who on earth is going to believe what actually gets released? They bought themselves time. Don't you think?
I know one thing for sure, given how the government does certain things, that if they don't want you to know certain things, they're going to be redacted and citing the national security concerns. That's all it's going to be. In this case, to me, why they might end up blocking the names, if those individuals end up being sort of serving a foreign government, that would be one of the reasons why, especially if they are high profile here in the US, because we all know Epstein is a Mossad. Maxwell, her dad was a Mossad. And even to the point, there are some, and I asked some people that I know whether Donald Trump will pardon Maxwell.
That's a bit, okay. That's a thing that's being floated around the ether, right? Pardoning her. Well, if Jeffrey Epstein didn't sex traffic to anybody, right? If he didn't do anything wrong, really, which is what people are, what this administration more or less is saying. If there's nothing to see here, guys, then why is she in jail at all?
And probably he will wait till closer to the end of his term before doing that. Doing it now will be a backlash, politically speaking.
Doing it now would be, he would. Here's the thing. So if you go to Truth Social, for example, David, do you know what the dead internet theory is?
No.
Okay, guys, do you tell me in the chat if you know what the dead internet theory is and if you believe it? Because I personally believe the dead internet theory. The dead internet theory, in its very simplest terms, is that most comments, reviews, most everything on the internet is bots. It's not real people. And you're interacting with them as if they're real. You're interacting with the comments as if it's a real person commenting it, right? You're seeing likes on things, on comments, as if it's real people liking it. Because you're not going to go through on a comment that, whatever it is, you're not going to go through on a comment and you're not going to check and see that every single person that liked that comment is a real person, if you could even tell. And so the theory is that entities, corporations, governments are more or less using the illusion of support because there's something in human nature that is, and this is why voting has been hijacked, in my opinion. Voting has been hijacked because the way to control a large number of people, there are a bunch of ways, but one of the most effective ways to control a large number of people is for them to feel their voice has been heard. So when you vote your voice, but a large group of people will go with what the majority wants, regardless of whether if it's what they want or not. So if they see online, if you see a comment underneath something that has, 10,000 likes on it, you're more likely to believe that that's what most people think. Most people must think this if it has so many likes under it, so many people put their vote on that comment. But that may all be fake people. Real human beings may not actually be liking it or interacting with that comment at all. And so there is a false sense of this is what the sentiment is. This is what other people believe and other people think. Because whoever it is who wants that belief out for whatever reason, and David, you could probably speak to how much governments want that kind of manipulation, they think it's real. And they act like that's what everybody else wants. So what they want is in the minority while everybody else wants this other thing.
Well, that is the reason why the government will have to approach it that way on certain aspects to keep the narrative going. And especially when it comes down to, if we are to tie it back to our earlier theme regarding the financial aspects, one of the things the government will have to do is to ensure that the majority do not understand the workings of the government financial transactions and so forth. This is why you have the black hole inside the Pentagon. You have the waste of the government's money in certain aspects that have nothing to do with the welfare of the average citizen. Since we say the government for the people, by the people, all the government is doing is like, yeah, we are providing you, social services and so forth. So therefore, we are here for you. So when in reality, the meaning of it is completely different. It has nothing to do with just handout. And this is one of the things even an average citizen does not understand his or her role within the institution, the country as a whole, is that person, even according to the Fourth Amendment, will have the right, according to the Constitution under the Fourth Amendment, will have the right to hold the government accountable. The question is, does anybody? So
well, and I think you asked the right question. Is fundamentally, does anyone know how or where? Right? Where do you start holding the government accountable?
It's not an easy, there's no easy answer to it. And why? Because the government is big. The system is so intertwined from its inception. Because the way it was built based on guarding interests. The founding fathers they had a good idea as far as we wanted a republic. We don't want anything like the monarchy and so forth. All that was great. But the founding fathers also had to ensure the protection of their own interests.
Right. They were
they were no different than today.
They were big business back then. I mean, they were not average persons.
Yeah, mainly landowners, bankers. Those were the two. And they were, of course, at that time, it was not at the beginning yet of when you start to have large farmlands, you're going to need workers, workers turning into slaves, or slavery, that is. That's why slavery was never about freedom. It was about economics. It was about the dollar. So till we understand the complexities of the system, but without understanding the complexity of the system, you won't understand how to untangle it from that web of. And now it gets even more complicated because the government is only getting bigger and bigger. You think about it in terms of, I give you just a quick example on education. Education, the federal government will have to get involved into, since when the government will have to get involved into the state decision regarding education. Even the state itself, I used to teach, and I'll ask my students, what courses are you guys taking next semester? And some will say, Dr. O, we're taking subject A. And I said, is that you planning on majoring in that? He said, no, I have nothing to do with that field, but it is a requirement. That gives you an idea about the involvement of the state even into education as a system. That's what and this is just one example. You take the other example of healthcare. How much the state and the federal government are in bed with the insurance lobbyists to insure. I used to know a surgeon, and Bruce, and he and I used to talk, and he said, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with a lawsuit. I said, what is that? He said, yeah, somebody sued me for $5 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, oh, it's nothing to him. Bruce is a spine surgeon. So this guy. And to him, it was like, yeah, just a normal day.
Oh my God.
Why it was a normal day? Because he knows that lawsuit is not going to go forward. So he's not going to worry about it. So that to me was an idea. It gives me an idea of, interesting that insurance company lobbying Congress to put a clause to prevent insurance company from being sued. And as a matter of fact, that legislation happened after I talked to Bruce about 8 months ago. We're talking about 2004, 2004.
Yeah.
A year later, 8 months or a year later after that, a legislation passed, and nobody knew about it. This is the thing. What happens in Congress behind closed doors, every citizen have no idea about it.
No, I mean, we don't even really.
No. You think about it now, even in food. In food, they took the term GMO. There is no more term GMO, but they replaced it with something. And that was the food industry with the Congress by passing this legislation to people have no idea. They just consume whatever, but they have no idea. You wonder why they're getting sick. You wonder why this, why that. All this, and again, all this is part of that big picture of how intertwined. So that's why I always say, for us to fix the system, you have to tear it down and rebuild.
Well, unfortunately, like I said, this is just my opinion. This is just my theory, but we're headed for worse. My theory is we're headed for universal basic income. And the real problem, because universal basic income is touted as a like, well, but there won't be poverty anymore, right? Like everybody's just gonna, everybody's gonna be fine. But I mean, you also will not have financial freedom anymore. You will not be able to buy things that the government doesn't want you to buy.
That's true.
You will not when they and we've started seeing it happen with people who no longer accept cash during the pandemic years. The amount of companies, businesses, customer facing businesses that stopped accepting cash. I mean, cash is hard to track. The government can't say, oh, you can't use this cash to buy meat today, right?
Yeah.
The government can't track it. And so they made everything digital, everything trackable. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's happening more and more. There are other countries that are thrilled about implementing UBI and thrilled about implementing central bank digital currency and digital yuan and the whole shebang, right? And that's fine. Like if that works for them, fantastic. But I do not want that here. That is my personal opinion. And I think it's because a lot of what's coming out now, for years, people have been talking about the whole like trafficking, Epstein whole thing. This didn't start right now. And as we go further and further along, we're going to find out a lot of probably more horrifying things than we could ever imagine were happening. And those are the people running our government. Those are the people running our companies. Those are the people managing our lives. Those people, the ones who were involved in all of this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
That's awful. And so it's appropriate to not trust them. Look at the mess our country's in.
Yeah. Well, that's why the trust in the government here, it's eroding down anyway. So it's so down. So let's take a few questions here before we sign off. And JD Vance, evidence of a thread between founders dressing in drag and Palantir. I don't know what this is all about. At least
this is from American Citizen X, which I think is Army with Harmony. Are you the
same? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I can't read that out loud, but I see it. And some real crazy stuff. But I wanted you to know I see it, but we can't read that out loud because I'm not sure that we will get this show demonetized for it.
Yeah.
And Army with Harmony, thank you, gifted membership to the show. So somebody snatched that up. Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
Let's see. This is a good question. David, what do you think? Question. Do you think society will be safer if basic needs are met? Like UBI or David, answer this. UBI or if the government took care of its people? Okay, go both things.
Well, if UBI that is controlled by the government, then it's not good. So in that case, you'll be better off with the government taking care of people, assuming that they will allow them freedom to use their own money the way they want to, as they see fit. So in other words, the government should have a limited involvement, but providing basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing. Those are the basic stuff. How would you do that? You either allow them once again, if you are to do the form of UBI should not be controlled by the government. So which means that doesn't mean transform the country into socialism here. It's because you're going to have to understand the system we're in will have some sort of butting head with that idea of the socialism. It won't work anyway here. So this is where you're going to see, and the way you can do it, for example, is by allowing, let's say, in taxes. Why do you have to tax people so much? Let them keep some of that money for them, while the government providing the basics. When I say basics, I'm referring security, safety, good roads, good schools, good healthcare system, and so forth. Instead of spending money on conflicts, on wars, because any conflict we go to, we take in trillions with us. I remember in my days in Kuwait, in Iraq, and I remember my days in Afghanistan. So all those, $6-7 trillion. Why? And $6-7 trillion could have been used here. That's what I say. That's what I mean by, if you have the government, I prefer to have the government instead of UBI. Because UBI will have strings attached to the government. But if it does not, then it'll be better, because you give the freedom to people to decide what to do with that money. That's the only way I see it.
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's the only way I see it.
Here's the thing about everybody getting their needs met is there are a couple ways to go about doing that. So there is what you're talking about, what we were talking about with UBI, right? Where we, instead of empowering people, instead of giving them a good education, instead of giving them a good job market to come out and be productive in, which the United States fundamentally isn't doing. So, and hasn't for a long time. It would have had to do that before right now.
Yeah.
So there's actually an interesting push, which our America-centric topics don't really do as well. Like, this is a really small live stream versus a lot of our other live streams. But what's happening in the United States affects the rest of the world for better or worse. So it's actually very important, even if you don't live in this country, to understand what's going on here. But, we have a large push for privatization of education. And then we have an interesting also push for defunding the already stretched too thin public education system that we have. So for the most part, the United States is producing children and that become adults that are wildly or undereducated. So the future doesn't look that great because we don't have groups of people that are set up to be productive in any way. And that's a really interesting choice because no one's talking about it. It is not a hot button topic. It's not even being addressed. But the young people that are going through school right now, in 5-10 years are going to be the adults that are out in the world. This isn't 100 years in the future. This is soon. And there's no at all push to bring those young people into a system that works. So we have a system that is fundamentally broken. I graduated from college a little bit after the 2008 financial crisis, and we graduated into chaos, right? There were no jobs. There's no nothing, right? My generation, the millennial generation, understood that we were screwed from the beginning. There was no safe pension job, which now, unfortunately, the baby boomer generation is learning that those safe pension jobs were not really that safe. Because right now with inflation, David, you talk about that. You talk about the fact that they're on a fixed income. There is not much more dangerous than being poor. It's the most dangerous thing you can be is poor. Is the most dangerous thing you can have is a fixed income and no way of making any more money, because inflation will eat that away until there is nothing left.
And that is where the challenge for the system here. So
yes, okay, we are way over time.
I know. One more question? No?
Okay, let me see. Let me scroll
if there is one. So
did you find it?
No, I didn't. Let me see here.
Let me see. Matt, I'm just going to put this on here because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. My husband and I are currently rewatching Deep Space Nine, which is my favorite. His favorite Star Trek is Voyager. David hasn't seen Star Trek, guys. We need to send David a bunch of messages.
Didn't have a
time to watch Star Trek.
Do you know that I never owned a TV?
Well, you have a laptop, and that's what we watch.
That was even before. I never bought a TV in my life, so I don't have.
Well, Star Trek is different.
I call it the idiot box. But yeah, I'll watch that one. Maybe one day I can start just chilling out and watch once every day, one episode. I don't like to sit too much in front of a screen.
Well, actually, my favorite thing, because my husband and I only watch older shows, older stuff.
I can do that.
And the big reason for that is it's slower paced.
Yeah.
And it's way less violent. And it's still hopeful. There's still like positivity and ideals and technological excitement. Like there's still like hope for the future in them. And they're so much slower paced. But what he's talking about is the Star Trek narrative is they don't have money. They don't, they're a completely more or less egalitarian society. Like they still have a hierarchy, but they don't use money anymore. And everyone's needs are taken care of because they have replicators. They can replicate whatever it is they need. They don't need to grow food. There's no farming. There's no nothing. They have these replicators and they, use basically proteins and textured carbohydrates to create whatever it is that they need. But it also doesn't deal very well with the fact that they deal with other cultures that do have all those things, right? They have money and they have, social unrest, they have all these things. I think potentially, 1,000 years in the future, we'll end up here in the ideal Star Trek universe. So I don't know, it would be nice, but
I might start watching it. But
David, I think you'd like it. Guys, if you've seen Star Trek, which Star Trek series should David watch first?
Yeah, I'll take a look at the answer from the community and just do it that way. Well, guys, we hope you all enjoyed this. And by the way, before I let you go, I want to remind you for my upcoming, let me see here to get you the right link. My upcoming conversation with Giant Bahandari at 1900 hours today. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you. Don't miss that out. We're going to be talking about one of key geopolitical aspects of why India had to cave in to America, despite what they were saying. Oh, India takes stand and all that stuff. Guess what? They caved in behind the scenes. And I'm going to be sharing with you, along with Giant, some of that. So we wish you anything to add, Elizabeth, before we go.
I want to share this comment actually that just came in by Violet Quinn Law.
Sure.
We had enough food to feed the world in the 80s. We didn't need replicators. All we need to do is change our value system to value utility over rarity.
That is well said. Well said.
That's very well said. Yeah. And I want to point that out. I remember being a kid, and David, do you remember those starving kids in Africa commercials?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I remember asking my parents, there's so much food, why are they starving?
Yeah.
And it's not starving because the thing makes it look like, the commercials make it look like there's not enough food.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth.
It's not the truth. It's the same thing they did to Venezuela back in 2019. They were because I'm not going to get into politics of it, but because we were supporting Juan Guaido, and we sort of used trucks through the borders and created chaos inside and propagated that, the Venezuelans are starving, but it was no starvation there. So
yeah.
So I know what we're talking about, but I know exactly what you're talking about regarding African kids and so forth. I remember those. So
yeah, it was soul crushing. It was heartbreaking to watch it, but it's not because there isn't food.
Yeah.
And so the question is why? Why is it, right? And you just addressed that.
Well, we have it right here. I mean, I drive around and I see a homeless person with no food. It pains me to see that, let alone when I find out they're former military. and that just crashed into me. So anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoy this, and I look forward to seeing you on 1900 hours. And of course, we'll see you next week. I will read your feedback about which Star Trek I need to start watching.
Matt says The Next Generation, which I agree with.
Okay, then
The Next Generation.
If Matt said that, then I trust Matt. So I'll start. When I start it, I will give you guys a heads up. All right, guys, you take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.